Hello, friends of ZDNet around the world. This is the official ZDNet show that we now do each week at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Jason Hiner, and I've got both of my co-hosts with me today, ZDNet's Kerry Wan and Sabrina Ortiz. Hello, hello.
Hi, everyone. Excited to be here.
Same. Exciting to be here. Exciting stuff to talk about. A lot of sleep to be lost.
That's right. That's right. Techtember is upon us. And there are a lot of things happening, a lot coming in hot. And so we're going to break it all down today. We're going to use this time to tell you what we know, what we think we know, and maybe a little bit of what we'd like and what we're hoping for in some cases, but also do some analysis of the ways that companies like Apple, Meta, Samsung, a bunch of others could surprise us and could do some things that could really be interesting and also help us figure out what we want to do with the tech in our lives, because there's some new stuff coming. So Kerry and Sabrina, this is our, we're calling it our Techtober preview, right? We're ready to let it rip.
You know, there's so many things happening when you mix up Techtober with Techtember and every other month.
Oh, I did call it Techtober instead of Techtember.
Yeah,
you're right.
It's all just one thing at this point.
Hey, that one's going to be a big
Thank
one
you.
too, so it's okay.
That's right. This is our Techtember preview. Then we'll get to the end of this month and we'll do our Techtober preview for next month, because there's a lot happening next month too, but we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. We're just going to jump in and start talking about Techtember. And of course, we're going to start by talking about the Apple event, which is next Tuesday, as we record this on Friday, September 5th. On Tuesday is the Apple event, the traditional iPhone event that's been happening for a decade now, over a decade. And so we are both interested, curious, and we're expecting kind of some new things to happen too, right? So this one's going to be, the cool thing about this one is the last several iPhones have been largely the same, right? I mean, on the outside, the hardware has looked and felt largely the same for several years in a row. So now we've all dug into it, and our audience is a lot of professionals and tech enthusiasts. You know, we dig into the details. There's been new stuff like the 5X camera, the camera button, dynamic island, the action button. So there's been new stuff, but largely when you look at them, they look like last year's iPhone. You really wouldn't be able to tell if you were carrying a 14 Pro Max or a 15 Pro Max or a 16 Pro Max. You'd have to look pretty close to tell the difference. But this year, there's a new one, we think, coming, pretty much confirmed. There's a lot of reports out there. And that is what we're thinking is the iPad Air. Sorry, iPad Air. There already is an iPad Air. The iPhone Air. The iPhone Air, which is going to be a much slimmer iPhone. And Kerry, you have already reviewed the Samsung S25 Edge, which is the device probably the most like this iPhone 17 Air that we're expecting. You know, what are your thoughts? You look at a lot of phones, you review a lot of phones. How are you thinking about the iPhone Air, iPhone 17 Air, and what that might be? And is it something that you think is a good move, or you're interested in seeing what they do?
Yeah, I mean, I tested the S25 Edge from Samsung a couple of months ago. I think since then, I'm still sort of asking myself what the point of these ultra thin and ultra lightweight phones are. Mainly because for a lot of these devices, we're seeing a lot of drawbacks and sort of caveats to them, right? Whether it's lesser or fewer cameras or just a smaller battery. We're sort of expecting those similar trade-offs with the iPhone 17 Air. But I think the biggest thing, and you sort of mentioned it before, is that it is a different iPhone. It's an iPhone that will look a lot different than the other ones. It's one that will feel different when people are going into stores and touching all the various iPhone 17s when they launch. And I think that on its own has a lot of power. I think that's something that Apple is going to lean very heavily on, just the hand feel and the full experience. That said, I think at the same time, you could never really count Apple out when it comes to optimizing their devices to perform at least at average, if not better. And so now that, there has been a bit of a time gap between the S25 Edge and now the iPhone 17 Air, hopefully, Apple's taken a bit of notes there and optimized their devices enough to appeal to the masses.
Yeah, very good. Look, any new design on an iPhone is a big deal. It's one of the, most widely sold consumer devices ever. Every year. It's really one of the biggest events of the year. If this event was on network TV in the old days, it would have the highest ratings, of all the tech events. Sabrina, any thoughts for you on the iPhone Air? Does it tempt you? You reviewed the 16E earlier this year, and then you also recently have reviewed a couple phones, the Flip, the Samsung Z Flip 7, and then also the recent Google, the Google phone, the Google Pixel 10. What are your thoughts? What does the iPhone 16 or iPhone 17 Air do for you when you think about it?
Yeah, I'm really intrigued at the fact they're going this like edge route, because I do think there was a real fan base for the Mini, and a lot of people did love having that phone. Like our very own ZDNET colleague Emery back in the day, she always loved her Mini. She was the biggest fan because it's just so portable and light and smaller and compact. But then they got rid of that because there wasn't enough of demand, but they're bringing this in. So I'm wondering what audience they think this is going to appeal to that wouldn't. Also, I think that the 16E just is also a good middle ground for those who don't want a huge phone, even though the form factor isn't necessarily much different, but it is still a lighter phone because it doesn't have all of the bells and whistles. So yeah, I'm curious to see who's actually interested in running out to go get this phone, because I would have thought it would have been the same folks that would have gotten the Mini, and obviously they didn't have enough of an audience with them to begin with. So
it's true. So what we've heard from the reports is this one's going to be a little bit bigger. So it's probably going to be more like the Plus from last year, which is last couple of years is not a hit, that replaced the Mini. They were like, okay, instead of a Mini, let's do one a little bigger. That's also cheaper. That one hasn't been a hit. So they've struggled with this alternative to the regular standard iPhone. So this one is going to be a little bit bigger than the regular iPhone 17, but thinner and lighter. And what they're probably going to call it is on stage, they'll be like the thinnest iPhone ever. Now they won't probably say the thinnest device ever, because it's probably not going to be as thin as the iPads, because the iPads, as we know, are super thin. iPad Pros are crazy thin. The iPad Pro M4, for example. So it will be interesting. I think that this device is a little bit of one of those they're going for the status symbol. It has one camera too, which is also, or at least from the mocks we've seen. So it's going to look different. It's going to look different than all the other phones. It's mostly going for this lighter vibe, but I think the real thing they're doing here is sort of showing off how thin they can make it, because what they're likely to do, what we're hearing is next year, they're going to do an iPhone Fold. And so with, making the device super thin, it's sort of showing it's going to be pretty cool looking, right? It's going to be neat looking. But to Kerry's point, at the end of the day, you look at it I don't think the three of us would be candidates to buy this. If we were buying iPhones this year, upgrading iPhones, we would not be, because we want the best cameras. We want long battery life. We want a device that can sort of do all the things. And I think a lot of our audience is going to be that way too. And so, we don't really want just a thinner phone, but they've got one thing to compete with, because, the Samsung Galaxy Fold, which we've been talking about, this thing is ridiculously thin. So you see it. So there it is sort of next to you can see it's twice as thin as an iPhone when it's folded out. Right. So, yeah. And Kerry, you were impressed when you saw the thinness of the Edge. It didn't tempt you to want to start using that as your daily driver, but I remember you being pretty impressed by how thin it is. Do you think the iPhone 17 Air, if they release it, is likely to be competitive with that device in terms of the form factor, the thinness of it?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think even with the thinner phone, the biggest plus for the Air phone will still be the software. It'll still be iOS 26 running on it and all the various Apple service sets on the device. I think that's the biggest sort of leverage that Apple has compared to Android devices at the moment. And so really all they really need to sell is the form factor, the idea of a thin and light device. One thing I will say is that I would buy the phone, Jason. I would buy 2 of them, and then I would tape the middle so that it becomes a foldable device. But
Nice.
yeah, like you also mentioned, one sort of takeaway that I got when I was testing the S25 Edge was that a lot of the sort of engineering that went into that device was really inspired and pulled from the foldable phones that Samsung made. I mean, before the S25 Edge came out, you had really 6 generations of Z Fold devices to base the design on. And so in a way, the S25 Edge basically felt like what the Z Fold felt like when you unfolded it and just used it like that. I sort of expect a similar trajectory with the Apple foldable phone. A lot of it will probably be based on what they've learned from making the iPhone 17 Air.
Yeah, nice. Now with the other phones, we are expecting a little bit of, there are some redesign, reports that are also out there for the other phones. So the Pro phones, the phones that the 3 of us would be buying, right? If we were upgrading phones would be the 17 Pro and Pro Max, because of the camera. So they're redesigning it. It's a camera bump almost across the top. It looks like that very Pixel-esque, sort of this sort of deal, but probably it almost looked like it was about twice as wide as like the Pixel bump, its signature bump. But they were also doing a 2-color thing on the back, where part of it was glass and part of it was aluminum. So moving back from titanium. And I think one of the challenges is these phones have gotten pretty heavy in recent years. Like titanium is not a light metal. It's kind of heavy. I don't mind it, when I carry the iPhone 16 Pro or Pro Max. I think it's a little heavier, but I think we're all like, look, we'll take a little bit heavier phone to have better battery. But at the same time, it's going to feel a lot heavier when you're also feeling it next to the iPhone 17 Air. So it's not surprising that they're making a phone that looks a little different. And also, I think all of us know one of the reasons people get the latest phone, especially like the newest color, is to show off, like, look at me, I've got a new phone, right? Like I've got the new iPhone. Is that fair to say?
I think so. And I think it's exciting that we're going to get some phone that looks actually different, because for a while, like all 3 of us, we're nerds enough where we could look at a phone and be like, well, it has this button on the side, or it has that notch. And like, okay, we know what model it is. But even for us, I don't know if you found yourself in a situation where I'll be talking to a friend. I'm like, oh, which iPhone do you have? And they're like, oh, I have no idea. And I'm like, okay, wait, let me look at it. And I really do have to like look at it and be like, wait, like, let me squint, because they do all look so similar as of recent, especially if you have a case on it and you can't see the color, which is really what the differentiator is. So it'll be nice to have a new phone where you could look at it and be like, oh, I know off the bat, this is a 17. And beyond just like, of course, some people want the flashiest phone just for the status of it. But also, like, if you're going to make the investment, a lot of people hold out when updating their iPhones. Like a lot of people wait, like a ton of my friends still have a Carrier 13. They're like, well, I have no reason to upgrade yet. If you're going to upgrade, you want it to feel like, heck yeah, I got a brand new phone. And I think that will really help bring that feeling through, which also, of course, liquid glass and iOS 26 and all of that will help with the feeling of having a refreshed phone. But that's a different story for a different day.
Let's come back to that, to iOS 26 and AI, Apple Intelligence, before we leave our Apple segment here in a minute. But there are a few other things that we're expecting at this event. Kerry, what are some of the other devices we're sort of looking out for that Apple could announce?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I do want to add before we sort of leave iPhone land right now is that there is a rumor that the standard iPhone will get a ProMotion display. That's essentially a 120 hertz refresh rate, which as a sort of tech enthusiast and tech geek, that's a big step up, especially for the base model. I mean, it's been really since the beginning that Apple has stuck to a 60 hertz refresh rate display for that device. And so 120 hertz ProMotion, it basically puts the phone a little bit closer, if not much more close to the Pro models than ever. And so it's one of those things that I think maybe people won't really talk much about, or at least when people are in stores. But it's one of those things that people will notice, at least when they're looking and gliding their fingers across the screens. That's like low key one of the things I'm really excited about. But to answer your question,
who look like a lot of, well, it's folks like you who look at a lot of Android phones. And then I remember the last couple of years when you looked at that, the plain iPhone, regular iPhone, 16, 15, 14, you just went, oh, right. It's only got that 60 hertz screen. Like you noticed it right away, even faster than me, because you're looking at phones all the time and you see all those Android phones with the really high end displays. So no, it's a good point. One thing I just want to add to that, and then you break down the rest of the devices, is that the Pixel 10 did something crazy that I didn't expect, which is they put all three of the cameras in their Pixel 10 regular model. That kind of threw down the gauntlet for regular phones, right? So it now has the ultra wide, the main camera, which is a regular wide angle that all the phones have. And then it also put its zoom camera in the regular Pixel. I thought that was pretty smart on their part, and it really sets their standard model apart from. We do not expect Apple to do that. It's still going to just have two cameras and not have three. So that display maybe is a little bit of a nice way to sort of try to catch up. Remind me, does the Pixel 10 also have 120 hertz display?
It does. Okay. I think really the past couple of Pixel non-Pro models have had a high refresh rate, if not 120, 90 hertz.
Okay. So that's big. All right. Break it down. What are the rest of the devices we're looking at for the Apple event next week?
Yeah, besides the iPhones, I think the biggest sort of thing that everyone's expecting is the next sort of iteration of the Apple Watches. Apple Watch Series 11 is on the docket, as well as an Apple Watch Ultra 3. We did see a new Ultra model really throughout these consecutive years. Last year, there was the Ultra 2. But in terms of those changes, we were mainly looking at an updated processor, a different color. This year, we're expecting a larger revamp and redesign for the device. And so hopefully it pleases a lot more of those rugged users, the folks who are hiking outdoors, Matt Miller on our team, folks who will really push the watches to the limit when it comes to durability. With the Apple Watch Series 11, though, I think the biggest story there is really just the enhanced health features. This is something that I think we've seen really Apple leaning heavily on over the past couple of years. And I think especially last year with the AirPods Pro 2 with the USB-C, them introducing hearing aid capabilities, I think resonated with a lot of people. I expect them to carry that sort of momentum with their watches this year, probably with the AirPods Pro 3 as well, which is another product we're expecting. And so, we'll see and learn a little bit more about that on Tuesday. And really the only other product that I think we're sort of expecting on top of those watches and earbuds is the AirTag 2. I think it's almost been maybe 4 or 5 years since the AirTags launched. And so, I think it's been a long time coming for that. And I think everyone's sort of expecting a worthy successor, whether it has a larger battery or just improved tracking.
I think sorry, Jason. I was going to say,
Sabrina.
out of all those products too, I think one of the most exciting, if, this is, I think, mostly speculation right now too, is new SE, a new Watch SE, because I feel like those are such a great intro watch for most people. I think that's like the perfect smartwatch if you're just getting into it. A user like me who always believes that they could wear a wearable and then gives it a chance for 6 months and then decides, oh my gosh, there's too much data. That's like the perfect, device or entry level smartwatch. If you're just trying to dabble in wearables for the first time and you happen to be in the Apple ecosystem, I think.
It's true. Those retail at $250, but the street price, you can get them on sale for $170, $169, stuff like that. So they are much more accessible. So we're expecting 3 watches: an Apple Watch SE, that's their low cost, a new one of that one, the Apple Watch 11, and then the Apple Watch Ultra 3. Now the Apple Watch Ultra 3 came out 3 years ago. It's been a huge hit. One of the Apple Watch band makers told me, they said, we sell more bands for the SE than any other model. They said, we didn't expect that. They said, it is super popular. It's not just athletes and hikers that are buying it. People like the larger display. And there's a rumor that this year that there will be even a little bit larger display on it, that it will get satellite connectivity in it. Mm-hmm. That's a rumor that's happened in some of the other Android watches as well. So that would be a catch-up play. But then that it could also have some extra sensors in it, possibly a heart, in the heart sensor, a blood pressure sensor that doesn't like check your blood pressure, but alerts you if it catches something out of range. And then it prompts you to go take your blood pressure, right? Take a blood pressure cuff and do it. So probably like a first stab, into that. We're also all still waiting for, blood pressure would be great. Hypertension or high blood pressure is like the largest undiagnosed disease in the world. And there are parts of the world where, and even parts of the US, more rural parts, that it's not that easy to like go to your drugstore, pharmacy, or doctor to get your blood pressure checked. So, it's a big deal when these things can get integrated there. Also, if you are hiking and that kind of stuff, but we're all waiting on blood glucose. That's the sort of holy grail that all these things, blood, your blood glucose or blood sugar is one of the things that can really help you manage your eating habits. They can help you if you have diabetes, obviously. But there's a real move with these like constant CGMs, these continuous glucose monitors right now. So if and when Apple Watch or some of these other watches can integrate that, that's going to be a big deal. We're not expecting that this year. There's not really any rumors that that's happening, but Apple Watch is the one where there aren't as many rumors and leaks for it. It's a little bit more of a closed ecosystem, unlike the iPhone. It doesn't have as many eyes on it. So we do occasionally get surprised. So that's why the only reason I brought that one up. But Kerry, you mentioned the AirPods Pro 3 that we might get. Those are rumored to be getting temperature sensors and heartbeat sensors. So to Sabrina's point, for some people that might want to work out, but they just don't want to wear a watch and get their wrist all sweaty, right, when they're working out. Like they could still be tracking their heart rate on their AirPods Pro 3 if that's true. That would be a big deal. And as you mentioned, the hearing check features from last year were a big hit and very popular. So AirPods Pro 3 could get those things. And then what are the other things that they're talking about? Better noise canceling?
Yeah, I would say just general audio improvements, an improved chipset, of course, that will probably anchor all the new features, whether it's improved ANC and transparency modes or just improved audio quality in general. There are also a couple of AI-related features there that they will possibly talk about. Probably the biggest one and the one that will probably get the most traction is just live voice translations. That's a feature that I think we've seen really across all the flagship earbuds across various brands. Yeah. And it's one of those things that I think at this point, people have sort of come to expect from flagship earbuds. And so we'll see how Apple does it. Obviously, a lot of the sort of AI features with Apple Intelligence have not really been the biggest hits, but this has the potential to be one of them.
Yeah, it's good. Speaking of Apple Intelligence, we can't wrap up before we talk to you, Sabrina, about Apple Intelligence and where it's at, what it needs. And then there's also now there's a bit of a big shadow hanging over it with the Pixel 10 went really hard on AI, and there's some impressive stuff in there. Like we're still testing a lot of it, but we have been testing it over the last couple weeks, but it went really hard on AI. And in some cases, there's some stuff there that I think Apple's going to have a really hard time keeping up with, because Google, let's face it, is one of the, dozen or so frontier AI model builders in the world. And they're the only one of those companies that actually makes a phone. So it can get its stuff in there a lot faster than anybody else. So where does that leave Apple Intelligence as we head into this event?
Yeah, a couple of things there. With the Pixel 10, absolutely the biggest standout to me, not just because, as an AI reporter, I have a little bias, but it really, like you mentioned, the AI features are really baked in. What I think makes a really good AI feature is that it's helpful, easily accessible, and you don't have to go out of your way to go access it, right? Like that's what I mean by easily accessible. Not like, oh, I could click this app, more so like, oh, I'm editing a photo, like you mentioned. That's one of probably the better features is if you're editing a photo and you just want to use natural language to fix something, you don't have to go find this tool. You just hit edit where the rest of your tools are on the Pixel 10. Now you could type in a prompt and have it edit a photo for you. So I think Pixel 10 definitely raised the bar there. I'm hoping that Apple takes a similar approach in the future, baking in their features more. But I will say, I've always said this when it comes to Apple Intelligence, the features that they have now, while they aren't the flashiest or even the features that they announced at WWDC, they've done a good job at executing them where they do feel pretty baked in. So I think it's just a matter of maybe taking that a step further to match Pixel 10. And Google is to take those, features, make them maybe a bit more helpful. But right now they're good. They're accessible. I was just testing before we hopped on this call with Nina. We were texting back and forth trying on the iOS 26 beta using the translate feature, live translate feature. And it's great. It's really fantastic. It does it in real time. You could see the translation. Like you could see, like we were doing English to Spanish. You could see the English and the Spanish at the same time as you're typing and send it, which is not only great for, actually communicating, but for learning. Like the first thing she said was like, wow, I could practice my Spanish this way now, which is awesome. So that is coming with iOS 26. There's a lot of fun features coming for iOS 26. I think visual intelligence, being able to basically do what circle to search can. Perfect example of them taking something that, Android phones have been able to do for a long time and bringing it over to iPhone. And it's not the flashiest feature, but it's baked in and it's helpful. The live translates are helpful. Auto mix, which y'all have heard me talk about nonstop. Really exciting. Fun feature for Apple Music to just transition songs seamlessly. So we're guaranteed to be getting some fun AI features. And then in terms of taking a step further, the hope is that I think they take some nods from Google.
Yeah. So you also wrote an article on ZDNet this week about an Apple Intelligence feature that you said saves you $200 a year subscription with something else. Talk about that.
Yeah, totally. Again, a perfect example of an AI feature at its prime, something that's integrated, easy to access, not the flashiest, but will save you time and money, especially because time is money. It's just the transcription feature in voice memos. So the best part is you don't even need the A17 chip or later. So actually, I think it's iPhone 12 users and later can access this feature.
Oh, wow.
So if you're just in voice memos, you record anything, if you click on it looks like a little quotation mark in a little box, you click on it, you get a transcript. And that transcript's pretty accurate. I've used tools like Otter AI for a very long time because of, my profession. And Otter AI is great, but it's costly. It costs $17 a month. And if you go find my article, I got in a situation where I'm stuck in Otter AI jail because essentially if you have a free account, you can't access your older conversations, which is the worst because you literally can't download them, export them, anything. They're just stuck in jail. So with iPhone and the iOS, you don't have to worry about that because you just go to voice memos, you get the transcripts, it's free and easy to access. And it saved me, $17 a month. So that adds up to like 200 something. So yeah.
Yeah. What about the summarization? Because one of the nice things about Otter AI is it does some summarization for you. You can like change the name of the voices. It has some of those advanced features. I'm assuming, I haven't tried this, although I want to.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it doesn't do some of that stuff.
Doesn't do some of that stuff, but what I included in my little handy article is that it does have an easy feature for exporting it. So what I do is I'll export it over to like Google Docs and then going back to Google and Gemini. And all of that. So you could just, exactly. You could highlight whatever you want. You could format it however you'd like. And then if you have Gemini tools, which again, most workspaces do at this point, including our own, you could access. Also, if you're a student, you could access all these tools for free as well, which is incredible.
The Gemini tools?
Yeah, they get access to their premium plan for free for a year, which is pretty awesome.
Good
And
tip.
I've done
Good
that
tip.
I've done that from my other accounts too. So I'm always covered. So I'll just use Gemini there. And also quickly to note too, because you mentioned, Jason, Apple taking a nod or from Google's advantage. Just wrote up an article yesterday. Bloomberg reported that, Apple's actually doing exactly that. They've arrived to terms of Google this week, according to insider sources that Bloomberg quoted, that they're in talks of using a native Google model to power the overhaul for Siri, which of course is the biggest AI feature we're all waiting for. So it sounds like they're doing exactly what you're saying, Jason.
Good. We all are waiting for. We've been waiting for Siri to get better for so long. Like we're like people in a desert just dying for a drink of water. It's like, please. Especially because, and you've written an article about this too, Sabrina, you can now take any of these, you can take some of these features and put them in the action button. Like you can use the ChatGPT voice and put your action button on it. And basically, instead of clicking the Siri button, you just click the action button. And all of a sudden, you're getting that visual, that it is visual, but also sort of the audio chat live that we've been waiting for in Siri, right?
That's my favorite hack ever. It's a slippery slope though, because then you won't stop talking to it ever. But yeah, you could just map it, click it, and then it's as if almost it was a native feature. But obviously the lack of it being able to commit actual actions that are part of the iPhone ecosystem. But it's super helpful. I use it all the time. Literally, I don't think I go a day without using it. And yeah, it's a quick and simple setup too.
That's awesome. We could dig more into that. We could dig more into Apple. But anybody have anything else before we wrap up the Apple section and we start talking about Meta?
I think we'll have a lot more to talk about after next week.
We will for sure. We will for sure. All right. Kerry, talk about what Meta's got coming up and why we're pretty bullish on what's going to happen at this event for a number of reasons.
Yeah, so Meta Connect is happening the week after the Apple event, so in 2 weeks really. But I think there's just been full of coverage and stories revolved around that event over the past couple of weeks and months. The biggest story really is probably what Meta is going to do with smart glasses and wearables in general. I think Mark Zuckerberg, he's talked quite a lot about the future of these wearables and their implications, and the idea that really if you're not wearing smart glasses in the future, you're at this cognitive disadvantage. And so really at this event, we're expecting really a couple of products, but the biggest ones, the ones that people will likely talk about the most, and including us, will be the smart glasses. There's really two models that most people will probably look toward. One is the successor to the Meta Ray-Bans, obviously just one of the most successful smart glasses in general over the past couple of years. Jason loves them. He has 8 pairs. And yeah, we're looking at a successor to that, likely probably more subtle upgrades, considering how refined the current generation already is, especially with all the software updates over the past couple of years. The second pair is one that's a little bit more ambitious. That's the $800 expected price device called Supernova, I believe is the code name for that.
Hypernova,
yeah.
And Celeste is the other sort of code name that's been bouncing around.
Yeah, and these ones, again, are a little bit more advanced. They'll likely have a built-in display within as well. So on top of just
full color display, unlike some of the other ones. So sorry, keep going, Kerry.
No, as you can tell, Jason is actually the most excited about this of the three of us. But yes, no, it's a full color display. So beyond just talking to the voice assistant within your ears, you can also see things, whether it's textual information, perhaps navigations as you're walking around, or just image previews as you're snapping photos and videos with the built-in cameras.
Sounds like Google's, the ones that Google's working on.
Android XR.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something that I think really every brand is trying to work toward right now, this multimodal smart glasses. It's really
but we tried Google's and they were pretty, well, Kerry, you recorded me trying them and they're pretty good. So if these are anything like that, that's really promising.
I did record the 5-minute demo of you using the glasses. But
At
yes,
Google I/O.
obviously,
Hmm.
yeah, obviously real world use is the most important thing with these things. The Ray-Bans did fairly well over the past couple of years, and hopefully these new ones do as well.
Yeah, I knew a lot of people who had them. So when I went and talked to I went to Sunglass Hut and Lens Crafters, and I like talked to the people in the store to see like because Meta went big. They were working with EssilorLuxottica, that's the company that owns Ray-Bans, to get these in stores. They also own Oakley, the other company. So they got these in stores all over the place, but especially those two. I went and talked to people about them. And the crazy thing was, 6 months after these launched in the fall of 2023, so 2 years ago, you couldn't buy them anywhere. They were sold out everywhere. And when I went and talked to people in stores and they're like, yeah, they're all sold out. They knew that they were sold out and they're like, yeah, I already got a pair. My buddy's got a pair, or my sister has a pair, or, my, girlfriend or boyfriend has a pair. They were all telling me, about all the people that had gotten them. And sort of, I asked them like, so are they using the features? They're like, no, but that would be really cool. They want to learn about what the AI features. So people were buying them just because they're like, these are really, these are really hip and I want to learn how to do the features. But at that point, even people hadn't used a lot of the features. So I do have this question of how much the people that have them are really using the, AI and the cameras and the taking phone calls on them and stuff like that. I like all of those things. We have all three of us have used it, and our audience has had almost like an insatiable appetite for content about these glasses too, which has surprised us a lot. Not just these, but other smart glasses in general. So it's such an approachable form factor. I think you hit the nail on the head, Kerry. And they also just look like normal glasses, unlike most of the others. Like you put these on and it's just like, it just looks like a normal pair of glasses. So they've got a lot going for them. And I think it's smart that Meta is going to just make a second or sort of a third version, essentially, because they had the Ray-Ban Stories, which is like 1.0. Meta Ray-Bans was 2.0 and a 3.0 this year. Probably going to have longer battery life, maybe better cameras. Sabrina, you've tested the Oakley Metas that came out this summer, and you noticed that there were some nice improvements. And so we have to think that some of those things are likely coming to the sort of next version of the Meta Ray-Bans, the audio only glasses. Yeah. What was your impression of those compared to the Meta Ray-Bans, which you also use pretty regularly too?
Yeah, the Meta Ray-Bans are great. I use them for situations where I know I will be capturing content. Like that's primarily, even though the AI is pretty handy, I reach for them for the sake of taking photo and video mostly. But I will say the Oakleys do fulfill a different purpose for me. I think because the battery is so much longer, I feel so much more comfortable using them and taking them out. When I run or I go on walks, I like to use bone conduction. So knowing that I could go on a long walk and then run a couple of errands and the battery will still last me, all of that makes me want to, okay, let me put the glasses on, leave the headphones at home, leave like a bunch of different things, and then just put my phone in like my back pocket or a fanny pack and not have to take it out, and then use the AI and use those strictly as basically my form of staying in touch with the world. And they were great. I think the improvements to batteries, especially, like I cannot stress enough how much I wish my regular Meta Ray-Bans had a longer battery life. So that was like, I think the biggest thing for me. And I'm excited for it to come to a form factor that I could wear all day, because the sunglasses, unfortunately, I mean, nobody's stopping me, but I think if I walk into the office, Kerry might give me a look if I'm wearing them all day.
Sunglasses.
Staring at my
wear
monitor.
Sunglasses all day. The Oakleys, it doesn't work so well. Yeah, very good. So we have two, as you said, Kerry, we're expecting 2 pairs of smart glasses from Meta at Meta Connect on September 17th is the day when their big keynote. Everybody can stream that. We will have folks will be on the ground there at the event and shooting video and everything, photos, working on articles, interviewing Meta folks. So we're expecting 2 pairs of glasses there. The Meta Ray-Ban is essentially 3.0 with hopefully upgraded battery that's as good as the Oakleys, like Sabrina just said. Maybe better cameras. The the video camera on the Meta Ray-Bans is essentially 1080p. The one on the Oakleys is 3K, so it's a little bit stronger. Maybe we could get up to 4K with the Meta Ray-Bans. They also only shoot vertical video and photos, whereas now there's some, like we'll talk about in a sec, Kerry, you tested some ones yesterday that are coming out next month, or actually in November, that they have similar cameras, but they shoot vertical and horizontal video and photos, which would be amazing. So maybe we get that. But then the other ones, those are expected to still be in that like $300 to $500 price range, the Meta glasses. But the Meta Celeste or Hypernova, the ones with the rumored screen in one eye, a full color screen in one eye, and they're gonna apparently have a wristband, a neural wristband, so that you can do gestures, pinch to zoom and things like that. Something that the Android XR glasses you all saw at Google I/O don't have and can't do. So that would be interesting if they come out. Those are supposed to retail for $800 or what all the reports are. So they'll be over twice as much. They only expect to sell, based on some of the supply chain projections, they're only expected to sell about 150 to 200,000 of those $800 glasses. They only expect that over the next 2 years. Now they could sell more, like they did with Meta Ray-Bans. They've sold way more of those than they expected. But with that, having to wear the wristband, that's kind of a pain also too, right? Having to do something like that. But they are already expecting, and they've said, both Meta and EssilorLuxottica said they are preparing to sell 10 million of the new Meta Ray-Bans by the end of 2026, they're going to be at an annual run rate of selling 10 million. They sold 2 million so far, or up until last year. So they're expecting to sell a lot more of these and get a lot more interest in smart glasses. That tracks with everything we've seen. We've seen just more people being interested in these. But there are some other ones. They aren't the only ones coming out. You all mentioned Android XR is about to come strong. We'll talk more about, there might be a Samsung pair coming. But Kerry, just yesterday, you tested some other ones, Rokid glasses from Rokid, which is a Chinese company, also with a big presence in Silicon Valley too. What was your assessment of those? Because those are also coming out in November, and they sold 1 million of them in the first 72 hours. They did a marketing campaign on Kickstarter. So there's clearly some interest in those too.
Yeah, no, I said Rokid as well, and they corrected me and said it's pronounced Rocket. So I'm going to relay that to you first, Jason.
Really?
But yeah, Rocket.
We've all been pronouncing it wrong this whole time?
I guess so. We could just close the stream right now.
Okay.
But,
Rocket.
yeah, no, the Rocket glasses, I've been testing them for really about 24 hours at this point. These are the no, I'm kidding. These are the ones. They look like really regular glasses from the surface level. The frames are a little bit thicker, sure, because they got to fit in all the components within, as well as the camera sensor. But there's really, I would say, a couple of significant changes here. I'm sorry if you could hear it talking right now because there's a voice assistant in it. First one, the one that I think most people will notice is the micro LED waveguide display. It's on both sides of the glasses, basically. So you're looking at this just green overlay on top of everything else that's outside in the real world. It's actually pretty good compared to all the other smart glasses I've tested with a similar form of technology back at CES. This one, what I like about it is that the actual, I guess, augmented overlay is a little bit more centered. So if I were to put these on and I'm looking at the text, whether it's an answer to a query that I submitted to the GPT-5 powered assistant, or if I'm looking at a teleprompter, let's say, I'm not just like looking down as I'm facing forward or I'm looking up into the sky. It's just me looking straight ahead. That's something that I think will hopefully be coming to some of the other smart glasses that we see on the market.
Do you like it better than having an optical module, like the ones that have a little dot right on top of one of your eyeballs that you have to stare up at?
Yeah, I definitely prefer this over that. Okay. This one just feels more natural to wear during the day-to-day. It doesn't feel like I'm like trying to sneak a peek at something that's not in front of me. But also they really put a lot of thought into doing this display. I think the first one is that it is this sort of anti-glare display, and so you're not really getting distracted too much, even though there is those green font and text in front of you. The second thing is that that font itself, you could adjust the brightness of it. So if you are wearing these glasses at night, if you're walking home from work, let's say, you're not going to be blinded by this just beam of green light in front of you. You could tint it down a little bit. But really the other thing that I wanted to talk about with these glasses is the fact that, yes, they also have a 12 megapixel camera sensor like their Meta Ray-Bans. They also record, actually they can record up to 4K, not just 1080p. But the smart thing about this is that, yes, the default is a 4:3 aspect ratio, which is the same as the Meta Ray-Bans. It's sort of like a tall, fat rectangle. But you can also adjust and crop that aspect ratio to the point where you're essentially getting either a 9:16 video, which is optimized for social media like Reels and TikTok. But you can also adjust it to basically crop at a 3:4 ratio, which is a little bit more like a traditional landscape video, but it's a little bit more squared off as well. The sort of trade-off of cropping your video like this is that the resolution drops a little bit, the file in general. But it is a sort of smart idea, especially if you are a content creator, let's say, who want a specific size and sort of aspect ratio of your videos, and you're not just limited to the 4:3.
Very good. So these are promising. There's also other ones. So there are with a similar green screen. So this is a monocolor, one color screen, the green screen. There are other ones out there like that. The Even Realities G1 do the same thing. They offer a teleprompter. A lot of content creators really like that for that reason. There are also the Brilliant Labs Halo, which will also have a one color green screen as well. So the difference with the Meta Hypernova and Celeste sort of glasses, whatever they end up calling them, is that they will have a full color screen, but it'll only be in one eye instead of, whereas those glasses, including the Rokids, have them in two eyes, which makes the display a little sharper, a little stronger. So it's an interesting, it's an interesting landscape for glasses. The Google prototype that you all saw, that was also full color, and it came in, that was both eyes. So probably a little more expensive. One last thing on the glasses, because we'll talk more about this next week, because next week we'll do a preview for Meta Connect, as well as a sort of talking what happened at Apple. But one of the latest rumors with those Hypernova glasses is that they will do another EssilorLuxottica brand, Prada, as the one that is doing. And if you can think of, if anybody out there knows Prada, they have some big, thick glasses. And so you could imagine, you could really imagine those being ones you could fit a bunch of tech into, because they have sort of chunky, arms, and they also sort of look a little bit techy in general. I think of that one movie, The Devil Wears Prada, and
that's the first thing I thought of when you said the first thought that ran through my head was that. Yeah.
And when she also wore those like very square Prada glasses, if I remember the main star of that movie. So not only could the devil wear Prada, but all of us could wear Prada, before too long. So who knows? But exciting stuff in the smart glasses space. This is probably going to be one of the hottest spaces happening over the next 6 months to a year, and probably beyond. But 6 months is going to be pretty hot. There's a bunch of new products coming out, and we're going to have CES, which is going to be probably a deluge of smart glasses. And then we're also still waiting for the Android XR glasses, which is going to be, pretty interesting, pretty exciting stuff. So, all right. Beyond that, there was also something that happened this week. In fact, just yesterday, speaking of yesterday, Samsung released a new product. Maybe, Kerry, you could just give a quick update on the new phones that there's a phone and a tablet that we got from Samsung yesterday too.
Yeah, so Samsung held what's basically a virtual Unpacked event. not the traditional physical launch event that takes place in a specific city or anything, but they announced really 3 products on top of the sort of Galaxy Buds FE earbuds they announced a couple of weeks earlier. This one consisted of the Galaxy S25 FE, which I'm not sure if they still call it the fan edition phone. They might have a
They
different
do.
sort of label
They
for
did
it at
say
this
fan
point.
edition in the replay video. They called it the fan edition.
Cool. Yeah, so there's that. I'm always right. The other 2 are really the Galaxy Tab S11 and Galaxy Tab S11 Ultra. 2 tablets this year, unlike last year, which I believe only had 3. There was a Plus model as well. But yeah, I mean, we're looking at really 2 products in 2 very different customer bases, I guess you could say. The Galaxy S25 FE, it's one that's tailored to really the mid-range customer. It's priced at $650, and so it's really just below that flagship tier, but a little bit higher than what you would call budget or a cheap phone. And so with this device, you're getting a lot of features that you're seeing on some of the more flagship Samsung phones like the S25 series. You're looking at a phone that's running on Android 16 right out the box on One UI 8. You're getting those 7 years of software updates. You're looking at an Exynos 2400 chipset, which I believe is the same one that powered the Z Flip 7 FE that just launched as well.
Okay. Yep.
And so, I mean, this phone is really just stacked in terms of display and battery and performance. Obviously, we'll have to just see, how it does on a day-to-day basis. The actual hardware itself, the design, won't really appeal to enthusiasts. Let's say it's more of a generic textbook slab large screen phone. But yeah, I mean, I think with the FE phones, they've never really been about appealing to enthusiasts and the people who are on the bleeding edge, but instead they appeal to a wider audience who just want a good, reliable phone for not that much money.
Very good. Since we're in the lightning round, and actually I should say, Sabrina, you in your newsletter, in our AI leaderboard newsletter on Fridays, you do a wrap up for the week, and you noted that one of the cool things about these phones was they get all the AI features. Like Samsung put the whole slate, of AI features in there. So AI features, your point was, are not just for premium phones anymore.
Yeah, exactly that. I was at the launch event where they launched a S25, like the flagship lineup. And I remember that at that event, the biggest story was all of the advanced Galaxy AI features, because again, pretty robust, similar to Google with the Pixels, a lot of really baked in features. And that was like the star of the show. And then now fast forward months later, not only are those features all still available, but now on a mid-range phone, which I think is pretty incredible, and just showing you that now it's kind of becoming the default, even for budget devices. So yeah.
All right, very good. We're in the lightning round now. So let's talk about a couple other things that are happening this month. Sabrina, why don't you talk about Snapdragon Summit, because you're heading there. And this is an event that's interesting. It's a little more nerdy, geeky, a lot of chips, but there's stuff that comes out of it that's important that will tell us a lot about the future of tech, and the products that are coming next year.
Yeah, super excited. That's coming right up. As soon as you guys come back from Meta Connect, I'll be heading out to that. And basically, your phone can only do as much as it's supported by or powered by the chipset it has. So at this event, we could just expect to learn more about what the future of your phone is going to look like, especially if you're an Android user, because again, companies like Samsung, that's what they use to power their flagships. So we'll get a really good look at the future. Again, we're going to be expecting that's going to be a lot of advances probably in the AI realm. So again, on-device processing is the norm, but what new, more advanced features can it run? We'll get a sneak peek at the event.
Yes, good stuff. Kerry, you also wanted to talk a little bit about IFA, because we have a lot of coverage coming out of that this week. Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to not really like when tech brands are trying to release everything right before the Apple event just to beat the sort of rush there. But I tend to forgive IFA because it's just been this way since the beginning, early September, if not late August. I mean, IFA this year very much centered around smart home, home electronics, a lot of computing and laptop stuff as well. And so I did want to take a moment to really just highlight two products that were announced. There's still things that are work in development, but I do think that there's a lot of exciting stuff here to sort of dig into. The first one is the Philips Hue Bridge Pro. This is essentially a mother brain device, I guess you could say, that will link to all of the existing Philips Hue light products, whether it's a light bulb or a light strip, an LED light strip, and essentially turns those devices, what were previously considered just basic smart devices, into motion sensors. And so instead of having to buy a dedicated motion sensor in your house to connect to all of your various gadgets, this device will essentially pair with all of those lighting devices, so that as you are, let's say, walking into your living room and your light detects that there is motion there, perhaps it'll turn on. Perhaps it'll also trigger a speaker or sound bar to turn on the audio there. There are a lot of plenty of just opportunities and room for creativity here. But it is one of those sort of, I wouldn't really necessarily say it's a big breakthrough, but it is a nice sort of innovation that can lead to what might be just the next step or next level in smart home products. The second thing that I wanted to talk about, it's a little bit more of a sci-fi thing. It's called the Eufy Mars Walker. It is essentially, I'm trying to think of the best way to pitch this. It is a robot for a robot vacuum. It only works with Eufy, which is Anker's sort of home cleaning division. It only works with one Eufy robot vacuum. It's the Eufy RoboVac Omni S2, I think is what it is. I wish I had those glasses so I could get a teleprompter right now and pull up that information. But
Right.
essentially how this works is that right now, biggest limitation for robot vacuums is that they just can't climb stairways or stairs in general. And so Anker made a robot where their robot vacuum can just slot right in, and that other robot will transport it upstairs.
That's kind of cute.
It'll essentially backpack the robot up the
Oh
stairs.
my gosh.
Yeah, it's not as romantic as it sounds, but
No, it is.
yeah.
It's cute.
That's really funny.
Robots
It's
helping
fun.
robots out.
That's right. Yeah. Robot helpers. Robot helpers. Here we come. That's the beginning. It's the beginning of something. Yeah. Very cool.
Well,
all right. As we wrap up, there is, and we're talking about Techtember. There is one more event that's kind of looming, and we published a report on this. ZDNET published a report on this that a lot of other people reported on over Labor Day weekend, which is that there are reports coming out of Korea that from the Korean publications that Samsung will host an unprecedented third official Unpacked of the year this year. And it's only the second time they've had one in Korea, in South Korea. They had their foldables event there in the summer of 2023. ZDNet was there for that. And that is to announce their cutting edge devices. So a trifold phone, which Kerry, you saw under glass at Mobile World Congress, right?
Yeah, that was definitely more of a concept. I will say it was based on Samsung Display, which is their other company that works specifically on the components. But yes, you could say it's a tri-foldable phone that's made by Samsung.
But Huawei has already delivered this product. So the Chinese phone makers are a little bit of a step ahead, which they have been on foldables the last few years. But they're going to announce their trifold phone. They're going to announce Project Muhan, which is their Vision Pro competitor, their Android XR high-end VR headset, XR headset. And then the last announcement, which is a bit of a surprise, is that they're going to announce Galaxy glasses, Samsung Galaxy glasses, which is their Android XR powered Meta Ray-Ban competitors. These would not be the ones like the ones you all saw with the screen in them, but would be audio only AI glasses, powered by sort of Galaxy AI and the AI features we talked about before. So are we excited for that? What do we think about that?
Yeah, I think we kind of need to end the month on a banger, I guess you could say. Just because I think I'm
Yes.
gonna be so drained after all the announcements and events that happened before it that we kind of need something a bit more exciting to
I
pick
love
me
it.
back up. And so yeah,
Yes.
I mean, try foldable phone, the glasses, the headset. The headset itself, I mean, it's something that Samsung teased for really 2 years now. I
2
think they
years.
first announced it
Totally.
in 2023 at Unpacked in like January or something. And
Yep.
so yeah, it's been a long time coming, but if true, then yes, like we're looking at something that will hopefully be really, really good.
And I
All
think
right.
Samsung has the potential to do it and do it well. Like as we've seen with the foldable, I think the most compelling actual fold, the only one that I've been like, hey, maybe I do want to fold, even though because I'm a flip girl, has been Samsung. So hopefully, if they do it, I think they'll do it well, and they'll be fun to see.
Right on. That's a fun way to end it. Exciting stuff. Techtember. I'm tired already thinking about it, like you said, Kerry, but also it's going to be pretty exciting. It's going to be a lot to see, lot to do, lot to share. We'll be testing a lot of these devices. And so, yeah, for the audience, put some comments in the comments wherever you are viewing this video and let us know what you'd like to see, what you would like us to test, what you'd like to know about any of these devices. We're going to be testing all of them, sharing with them, looking at them from that angle of what it means for professionals and early adopters in the ZDNet audience. So yeah, thank you to, again, all the ZDNet friends around the world. We do this video for you. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye, everyone.